Hey everyone, welcome to Make Your Peace, a 4YE podcast about Wynonna Earp. I'm Catherine Meushaw.
I'm Lara Hayes.
So we're back. It's been a lengthy hiatus, and if you recall, at the end of our season 2 wrap-up, we discussed going back and covering the episodes that we missed. So if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We actually started doing this about episode 4 of season 2, and decided there was a lot we wanted to cover. So we're starting from the beginning. We'll be discussing season 1, episode 1, titled Purgatory. And we're going to do this so that hopefully we get the best of both worlds. We're going to do this spoiler-free, but at the end of the podcast, we'll give our outro, so we'll tell you where to find us, and then we'll do a little spoiler discussion. Since we do have knowledge of season 1 and 2, it does allow us to kind of have that conversation, but we still wanted to keep kind of that vibe, that spoiler-free vibe of the podcast. So feel free to stick around for us, but if you're a newbie and somehow just discovered the show and want to keep unspoiled, you don't have to worry about spoilers until we get to that point. Alrighty, so I'm excited to get back into it. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm really excited to be back.
Yes. And hopefully, if we've planned this correctly, we will be done catching up just in time for season 3 to air. So it should be great. But Lara, want to go ahead and give us a quick recap of the pilot episode?
Absolutely. So on her way home for her uncle's funeral, rowdy Wynonna Earp finds herself sucked into the curse that has plagued her family for generations.
Alrighty. Thank you for that. You were a little bit more on top of things than I was, so I appreciate you having that at the ready. And where do you want to start?
If I could, I'd like to talk about the episode title real fast. The title of the episode is Purgatory, which we know is the name of the town of Purgatory. But I don't know how much you and I have ever discussed how much I love the name of the town. It just works on so many levels. On the one hand, it's a literal way station for demons, and while this isn't exactly the biblical purgatory, you get a sense that this entire town is a place caught between two worlds, and we see that in the very first episode, in the premiere. Things are not what they seem. We see it in the title itself. I also love this town name for its more colloquial connotation of being stuck in a place or stuck in a rut or having to atone for something, which is what purgatory is really about. And you have the sense before you really even get to know Wynonna that she is going to a place that may not be easy to leave. And you get that from that name.
Yeah, I should have known you were going to start with the title. But, you're totally right. And even maybe, and this is probably a stretch, so excuse me, listeners, for stretching, but it's been a while. You talk about the being between world, best of both worlds, between two worlds, stuff like that.
Right.
You can also argue that Dawes is a U.S. Marshal who's up in Canada as well, because he introduces himself to Wynonna as a U.S. Marshal, and she immediately tells him, you have no jurisdiction up here. So you can kind of bring that into kind of an out of the element thing as well. And kind of, if you want, like I said, it's a stretch, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you do it, girl. Also, if anybody is new to listening, this theme song, the theme song rocks. You are never going to skip it. It's one of the best theme songs. You and I, Catherine, we actually had a conversation after I listened to that episode of your Subtext and Chakrams podcast. You and I had a conversation about theme songs and how, Xena is one that we really love, and Wynonna Earp is one that I really love. And that intro song, for anybody who's curious, who maybe hasn't had a chance to look it up yet, that's Tell That Devil by Jill Andrews, just in case you want to download it or anything.
It is, you're right about that one. It's good, and I always end up singing along, and it's a good one, just gets you really into it. Honestly, the music, especially in this episode.
It's so good.
So good. I love how they use music. It's so good. And there's a few moments since we're talking about it, when Black Sheep starts playing at the end, with her on the motorcycle.
Yeah, that's by Jen Wigmore. And I actually have another track of hers, her newest single, on my playlist right now. So if you guys like that song, if you liked I'm a Black Sheep by Jen Wigmore, you can also try her newest single, Cabrona, which I love. I've been playing constantly.
You're just full of all kinds of knowledge. You're putting me to shame because I feel like I didn't research as well as you did.
I like music.
So thank you. I know, and I appreciate that. I really do. I'm not poking fun. I appreciate that you have that handy because I was in the middle of saying that and going, I should probably go look her up.
It was one of those things where I've listened to her music and she's got a really distinct voice. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, this is Jen Wigmore. And then I double checked it just to be sure.
Awesome. So thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun way to kind of start the series too.
Yeah.
So just in general, you've got some really great music cues. You've got some really great dialogue and everything. Even, I mean, we start with this episode, like, with our heroine, like, just kind of coming out of the bathroom on this dirty old bus. Like, it's like, that's the tone this sets. And I just love it. It's like, you're not going to get anybody classy, but it's fine. She's awesome.
I actually had a bus bathroom note, and I said, like right away, we know that Wynonna is a gritty heroine because she's brave enough to use the restroom on a Greyhound bus. I don't know if when I was like 18 years old and I was traveling back and forth between Michigan and Kentucky to visit friends, to visit family, I would take the Greyhound because I didn't have a car. And I learned the hard way that you never, ever use that bathroom.
Oh, God. I can only imagine. Well, I mean,
it's horrifying.
She's brave enough to use the bathroom, but also kind enough to warn somebody else not to.
That's right. Heart of gold. Heart of gold, that one.
Goldish. I mean, she is also the only one who gets off the bus to help Kirsten, so.
It's true.
I mean, she knows it's out
Kirsten.
there. I know. It kind of reminds me of, this is like the kind of Old West equivalent of like the girl in the alley. You know, the blonde who gets off the bus. She's kind of like the equivalent of the blonde in the alley.
Oh, yeah.
Almost. You know, that trope.
Yeah, for sure.
That, you know, you watch these things so many times and that stuff starts popping into your head. And, you know, that's how Buffy got started. You know, they wanted to make the blonde in the alley, a hero. You know, what happens if she was a thing that Monsters was afraid of?
That's what's up.
Unfortunately, that did not happen in this situation.
Kirsten really should get a spinoff in retrospect. We just, put her head back on and get her going.
Yeah, I'd like to see that nightmare. Sure. Can't we learn how she ended up in Purgatory? I don't know that I need the aftermath. I don't know that I need a headless horseman situation.
True. Also,
I don't know. She
like riding literal buses is how I found out in life that you never get off the literal bus. Which my mama taught me that, you guys, when I was like 18, because she knew I was traveling, and that's how she used to get around when she was younger. And she was like, "Don't ever get off the bus." I mean, unless you want to be the subject of your own 2020 special. That's
some pretty good advice. And for those of us who didn't have a mama that rode Greyhounds and gave us that very helpful advice, now we have Wynonna Earp to teach us rule number 1, you don't get off the bus.
Wynonna Earp can be your mama.
Please
don't tell her I said that.
the whiskey drinking foul mouth mama. I like it.
Best.
I mean, I don't know. I want a mama that says things like, like a swift kick to the box.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's one of my, hang on, that is also one of my favorite quotes of the episode, swift kick to the box. So funny.
It's so good. It is so good. Oh, I had a random bus note.
Yeah.
I kind of liked how the bus line is blunt line, and it almost looks like it's bunt line, but Peacemaker is a bunt line special. We learned that in this episode. So every time I see the bus line, I feel like it's kind of a slight nod to that, even though it's blunt line versus bunt line, but still, I kind of like that.
Word. Nice job, dude. I totally missed that.
I've watched the pilot a lot, so.
It's a really, really good pilot. And like one of my favorite things that the pilot does, which is kind of like one of my favorite moments of the episode, is that there's just excellent backstory flashbacks of Wynonna and her sisters, like when they were young, And the reason I love the flashbacks that we see in the premiere so much is because they were very quick, they were very direct, they gave you the basics, quick rundown of the curse. Mm-hmm. This girl has been through some horrible things, but they move through it so fast, it really doesn't bog the episode down, and it doesn't take away from the horror comedy of the show, because they don't leave you lingering in that place for too long.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a really nice balance. Yeah.
It's a great device. It really, those flashbacks are great. I mean, because some shows struggle with that. But you're right. It really had a great balance, because, I mean, you learn so much about Wynonna and Waverly, the curse, the revenants. It's so much is packed into this episode, and the pacing is really great. It's a good hour of TV /
it is
42 minutes, but
with commercials.
Yes. So yeah, I love that. Like I love that storytelling too, because it does do it really well, especially when having Wynonna walk into the homestead, and how it's well done, and I appreciate things like that, because there are some pilots I have no interest in rewatching over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I always enjoy watching this one. And it's also a great way to kind of get people into the show. I don't know about you. I think I was in before the credits rolled. This is something about Wynonna. It's hard not to like her. So I was all in really early on. I'm like, give me this hero.
It's true. And anybody who's going back and who's watching it now, you're watching it for the first time. Maybe you're listening to us for the first time. How cool would that be? If you fall into that camp, you're in for such a treat, because what I remember like most vividly about the Wynonna Earp premiere is live tweeting it with you, and all of the Earper fandom, and all of my Twitter mutuals. We all heard that Emily Andress was coming out with a new show, and everybody tuned in. Every Lost Girl fan was there, and we had so much fun with the cast. And I really didn't expect that to carry over into season 2, but spoilers, it's season 2. We're going on 3, and the cast is still amazing. And that's what I remember most. I remember laughing at the show, and I remember laughing at all the hilarious people on Twitter that I was watching it with.
Yeah, because remind me when we get to episode 5, I think it is. I had a fun Melanie Scrofano interaction on Twitter. And it is. So if you guys are just kind of stumbled upon like us, or like the fandom or whatever, like this cast is amazing. And it started from day one. It really did.
Yeah.
It just snowballed into something really fun. So forgive us for being so excited and everything. It's been a while since we got to talk about Wynonna.
It has.
All right. So there was a lot of favorite moments, like obviously, because we both are all over this episode. I have to say, one of the best moments and the best entrance still in the series. I stand by that. Waverly Earp has the best entrance in the series.
She absolutely does, and I'm so glad you gave me a reason to talk about that crop top.
You're welcome. Side note, though, she destroys her pillows, which is like the saddest thing about her entrance, is she like blows her pillows to sad little smithereens because of that shotgun. But yeah, I'm not mad about Waverly Earp and her crop top. I am also not mad about Wynonna and the tank top.
No, yeah. That's the thing that's so exciting, is like, what if somebody is really new to this and listening? Like, you guys, there are going to be so many crop tops and tank tops in your future. I'm excited for you just thinking about it.
This is true. Anybody watching for the first time, you are in for quite a treat.
I guess spoilers? Oops.
You know what? I'm not counting that as a spoiler. I'm counting that as a be prepared, but also you won't be prepared. So
Right. It's real.
Like,
it's a public service. I'm just trying to warn people.
you really have to.
No, she does though. She has the best entrance. Absolutely.
I love it. Waverly Earp and her shotgun. And it's so delightful. And thank God Wynonna moves quickly, or, she wouldn't be the only Earp who killed a member of her family.
You know what else I really like is that, that is such an over-the-top entrance, and it's so perfect for Waverly because her energy is it never dips below a 7. You know what I mean? Like, she's always vibrating at a higher level than everybody else. And you see that, right away, you see that about her. It's your immediate impression of that girl.
Well, I mean, I love the Earp sisters so much. And if you're new to the podcast, I say that a lot. If you've listened to the podcast before, sorry. But no. Yeah. I love the Earp sisters. And I love there's such a wonderful contrast here because you've got them dealing with tragedy in such different ways. And you've got Wynonna and kind of, Gus calls her as broken as they come. And then you've got Waverly, who's just full of light. And I mean, they both have their stuff. They both have their trauma. They both had a very, I don't want to keep saying trauma, but I mean, they had a traumatic thing happen. Mm-hmm. And even Waverly didn't just watch her oldest sister get taken away and her father get killed. She watched her father get killed by another older sister, her middle sister. So, or her older sister, but you know what I mean? So, and it's I love how in this episode, it's, Waverly doesn't hold that against Wynonna either.
Well, she does make not the thing about her dad, yeah. But she does. You do see a little you do see some of the worth issues, and we're going to talk a lot more about self-worth and how it features in this episode. But you do see a little of that, when they leave Champs and they're walking across. She makes a jab about Wynonna being back, or she's just going to leave again, and you get to see a little glimpse of how Waverly feels about, being the one who's left behind. And you get to see a little of abandonment issues right away.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was mostly just focusing on the how she doesn't really blame Wynonna for Wyatt's death. That was where I was at with that. Cause Waverly definitely has some abandonment issues that are very clear in this episode. Yeah. Cause she mentions Wynonna leaving 3 or 4 times.
And, God love her, who doesn't have abandonment issues? But yeah, you do, you see, and that's, again, the writing is just so strong in this pilot. It's amazing that it's a pilot because they just give you all of these truncated conversations or flashbacks or instances that give you this real impression of who these women are.
And it's just they also, Melanie Scrofano, who, if you don't know, plays Wynonna, and then Dominique Provost-Chockley, who plays Waverly, has such great energy straight off the bat. They have a great chemistry, and it's so fun watching them. They play off each other, and it's exciting. I'm just so excited because I really do enjoy this. But yeah, Waverly, I mean, that's one of my favorite moments in this episode with her busting in, and it's how much of a skeezy jerk is Champ?
Yeah, she should have been aiming. She should have been aiming for him.
Yeah, why are you shooting at the woman and not the boyfriend who brought another woman to your apartment?
Preach.
It's Waverly's apartment. It's very clearly not Champ's. Because, I mean, he walks in and you very clearly see the key holder thing by the door that says cowgirl. It's very clearly not his apartment.
Yeah. Champ is horrible.
I hate him. I mean, this is his girlfriend's sister.
Yeah.
And what is wrong with, hates him so much.
Yeah.
So I had to get that out of the way because I don't want to waste too much time on him.
Let's not. Yeah.
Yeah, I literally just deleted my Champ section.
There we go. I know. My notes. Mine off too. Yep.
It's that's all you get. Bye.
Covered exactly why I hate him. So we are fine. We're fine. Moving right along.
The worst. I do love how Wynonna kind of uses her assets to get information, though. Yeah. She definitely uses her sexuality, and I enjoy that because it's she'll use that with no problem. Be like, yep, I'm going to get information and this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah, she's a pragmatist.
Yes.
My other favorite moment actually also happens in that room, and it's the sister face-off in Waverly's bedroom when, Wynonna kind of finds that
murder wall.
Yeah, the decoupage wall of death, if you will. And that scene in between the two of them, when the only person this gun ever killed was Daddy. It beautifully delivered by Melanie, wonderfully received by Dom. That was the scene that made me fall in love with the Earp sisters. It was right there in the premiere, and I was hooked.
I mean, it's so good. I love them. And it's like, they have such a sisterly moment there too, where it's like, when Wynonna first sees the murder wall or the serial killer wall, however you want to call it, Waverly is so excited and Wynonna just like smacks her. And I love that, like smacks her arm. Like it's such a big sister move. Like, you idiot, what are you doing? You're supposed to be the normal one. And I love it because it's such a sister thing. And it's moments like that. It's another big Earp sister is Wynonna calling Waverly baby girl at the end.
Aww.
You're right there, baby girl. And I love that. It's so great. I love them so much because, I mean, they mentioned Wynonna's been gone for 3 years and she'd been kind of in and out of purgatory, since Wyatt died. Not Wyatt, Ward. Wyatt was dead a while ago.
Wyatt died a long time.
Yeah, sorry. Too many W's.
No, I didn't know you corrected yourself. That's what I was like, yeah, Wyatt's dead. I was like, I just kept rolling with it.
He is. I was not wrong. No, so I mean, it's just, I love the Earp sisters, and it feels like such a real relationship, and it's so delightful to watch. And she's really protective of Waverly, and it's so great. Like, and that's very clear early on. It's very clear that Wynonna is protective of the people she cares about.
Oh, absolutely. She's a pit bull.
I love pits.
See?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I get overly protective of pit bulls just because they're misunderstood and they're big love bugs. Usually, they're just sometimes scary, but they're big love bugs as long as you treat it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Nurture.
Exactly. I do not like Gus in this episode. Gus is awful. Speaking of nurture.
Okay, so I get it, but as a plot device, I love Gus. I love Gus in this episode. Gus really sells the theme of the episode, which is like homecomings are hard. And yeah, like Gus is really the one who drives that home for us. I love the tension that we see with Gus. I like the visible discomfort in Wynonna around just about everyone she encounters, but especially Gus. This is a place that Purgatory is somewhere that she left for a reason, and that's not always easy to walk back into. And that's really what we see this episode, and that's what Gus gives us. She also is responsible for casting like a little bit of doubt, or she delivers more of Wynonna's backstory in a single line than we would have, we would have needed two flashbacks. Oh my God.
It's a whole other show.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm rusty. I've got this. So, there's this scene where she's taking, the truck, Curtis's truck or whatever. Yeah. And Gus is like, you're crazy. You're talking about demons again. You must be off your meds. And we just get this, this whole different level of Wynonna in that one line from Gus. We're like, oh God, this is a girl who's been medicated, who's it sounds like she's been hospitalized. So I'm with you. I know she's not the most lovable character this episode, but she really plays a crucial role. I think the episode would have suffered greatly if Gus didn't take that kind of hardened stance with Wynonna. The episode might have had to work twice as hard to fill in all those gaps for us.
And as much as I hate to admit it, you are right. You are very right.
You're right too, though. She's not a warm character, what we see.
And I think especially on a rewatch, like, first time through, you're like, damn, what the heck? But especially on a rewatch, because it's like, you hold Wynonna so closely in your heart. You're just like, come on, like, she's, be nice. But you're right, because we do get a piece of it. Like, Waverly isn't going to say something like that to Wynonna because she believes her. She was there. She saw what she saw. She just ended up navigating the world differently.
Yeah. And, we see her big death wall. She's doing all this, research and everything. She's in it,
And she's so excited. And I love Waverly because she's so excited. And she, like I said, she's just got this light and this lightness, and she's just, she just wants to help. She wants to break this curse. She wants to take out, these revenants. She has done all this research. She has spent all this time. And I mean, for those of you, I don't know if we get an age on Waverly, but this is the spoiler, but it's mild enough where I don't mind it. Like, I'm not going to worry too much about it. So we know that Wynonna turns 27 in this episode. Waverly is 6 years younger. So Waverly is 21 years old.
Yep.
And has spent years researching this curse. Has spent years working harder than probably most of the other Earp heirs have. Because Wyatt was a gunslinger. Ward, we saw, was a sheriff or a deputy. That's all that we know of him. Wynonna's not the researching type. And then you've got Waverly, who seems to be a bit of an anomaly because she's spending all of this time. As far as we know, like, we don't know a lot about the other Earps. But, you get this, it's a family, like the family heirloom is a gun. So I love this. I love Waverly so much. And I love how, I love her light. I love her heart. I love how excited she is to just be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's break the curse.
I also really love the first peek, or I guess the first real peek we get of Peacemaker towards the end of the episode when Wynonna has to go, back to the homestead and save Waverly. I'm not going to get in it too much. I'll just say that, like, you can tell from like that ricochet shot that she pulls off and everything, you get a little bit of Peacemaker's theatricality, I guess. It's a really melodramatic gun, and I was smiling watching the frickin' gun. Like, oh, Peacemaker, watching this again.
Peacemaker is a great gun. I also absolutely love that down the barrel shot we get at the end when she raises up Peacemaker to shoot Waverly or above Waverly.
Oh yeah, it's
that down the barrel shot we get I love that shot. It's one of my favorite shots.
Mine too.
Of Peacemaker. It's just it's so great. I love it so much. So it's just like, that's what, the second you mentioned Peacemaker, that's why I made that noise. I was like, down the barrel shot, because it's so great. And we do get to see Peacemaker's, I mean, yes, Peacemaker is melodramatic a little bit, like, a little bit, because, it kind of was iffy about, working when Wynonna tries to shoot Carl. Stupid Carl. But, it also, it lights up. It doesn't just like shoot revenants. It lights up. That's how you know when you've got one. And it's so great because, we get to see Peacemaker light up, and that, the runes outside light up, and then we get to see the revenant mark and all that stuff. So I love Peacemaker. It's a cool gun.
It is a cool gun.
Here, fun podcast drinking game. Take a drink every time Catherine says, I love something.
I'm going to have to advise against it.
Yeah, please don't. That was a terrible suggestion. Don't do that to yourselves. Please drink responsibly. And out of fancy teacups like Wynonna.
Yeah.
Actually, probably don't do that either.
Stay classy.
I'm just saying, if I'm drinking like whiskey out of a fancy teacup, I'm breaking that teacup because I'm clumsy.
Yeah, I would.
But I do kind of. It is fun to watch her drinking it out of that teacup. Like, that is fine china, Wynonna. It is not for whiskey. Sorry, we're just, everything's a favorite moment.
Yeah.
For us. We talked about it a little bit because you mentioned the curse, but we did get a lot of really good information in this episode. Because you mentioned that we got it, but we didn't really talk too much about the information that we got. There's something about, the 27th birthday has significance, which I kind of like, because there's pieces of that, midnight hits, she turns 27, and she gets that, like, bust of energy or whatever, and jumps up and starts fighting in the beginning of the episode. And then, I don't know, there's something else supernatural about her because she takes that big jump, that gravity-defying nonsense at the end of the episode, too. Like when she's, I think she goes to hit Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's that. And I think there's sort of there's a moment in the kitchen, right, when she's drinking the whiskey in the teacup, where her and Waverly have a moment, reflect on the fact that it's her 27th birthday.
Mm-hmm. And then we do find out later, courtesy of Malcolm, I believe, it's one of the Revenants, I think it's Malcolm, that when the Earp heir turns 27, those killed by the last one are resurrected. And he said, quote, a little more demonic than the time before. So we get that important Revenant information, and we also find out that Wyatt took down 77 outlaws, and they were all resurrected as Revenants. So the curse of the heir is to have to try to take out all 77 and send them right back to hell with Peacemaker.
To get ready for the next generation.
Well, the ideal is to knock them all out so the next generation doesn't have to deal with it.
Yeah, that remains to be seen, but yeah.
Well, obviously, or we wouldn't have a show now, would we?
You're right.
Come on, now.
I forgot, because, obviously, you and I have seen season 2, and we've been watching it for a while longer, so, not to get spoilery or anything, but it was funny. I forgot how much I liked, all business Deputy Marshal Dolls. Shamir,
right?
Shamir does such a wonderful job with that, uptight attitude. He wears it head to toe. It's in the suit, it's in the walk, it's in the attitude, it's in his delivery. And it was just, I forgot. I was like, oh, look, he's such a jerk right now. I thought it was precious.
I mean, yeah. Well, let's go over what Dolls did. He stalked Wynonna for a little bit. He threatened Waverly. Threatened Waverly, when he was talking to, Wynonna. And used Waverly as leverage and blackmails Wynonna.
Yeah.
He's on quite the roll.
He's got a can-do attitude.
And speaking of his wardrobe, that light blue shirt he wears in this episode looks really good on him.
Yeah, that's a great shirt.
I mean, I say that as a gay lady, but it looks really, really good.
As a gay lady, I want the green bomber jacket that he wears at the end. I want to wear that jacket, and I want it to look as good on me as it does on Shamir.
Things to aspire to.
# goals.
I mean, really, it's a pretty good looking cast. But yeah, no, I think I note that every damn time I watch this episode, I'm like, that light blue shirt looks good on him every time. I think it's because I get annoyed at him being really flippant about Waverly, so I just try to focus on something else.
I don't. I like season 2 Dolls, but I also like season 1 Dolls. And that's all I'll say about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dolls is good. But yeah, I mean, he definitely has quite the episode. He's actually really fun in episode 2, so that's also not quite the spoiler. Yeah, we're really good at this. He's fun next episode, too. I kind of enjoy. He's got a couple moments.
Spoilers, he'll be back, yeah.
Well, we knew that. I mean, he just blackmailed Wynonna into joining Black Badge.
Word, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, so, poor Wynonna. But it is interesting. I mean, he uses Waverly as leverage. It's very clear that it's, the second he mentions her, Wynonna, there's the Pitbull thing where it's she's like, nope, you're not going after my sister. And of course he catches that and he's like, oh, okay, this is how to get to you. Thanks. It's law enforcement. So we have not talked about the well. Wynonna didn't just pull Peacemaker up. Why did she leave the rope behind? Was it because Dolls distracted her? Because I wonder that every time I watch this episode. I'm like, why did she leave the rope?
Maybe she just got what she came for, and she was like, whatevs.
She's like, I didn't need that rope. I mean, it wasn't hers to begin with, but I don't know. It just felt like an awfully convenient move. Oh, and not a spoiler, but the man who comes out of the well, Wynonna did not see him because there is a wonky cave system or something in the well. That's Emily Andrus mentioned that in a Reddit AMA. So just an FYI, the reason Wynonna didn't see him when she went down there was because of this wonky cave system. So I forgot about that. I don't think I had to, I don't think I really focused on that on my first watch of this episode either, which is probably a little disconcerting.
Yeah. I never thought about
I
it.
just kind of rolled with it. And then afterwards,
I
I
guess,
was like, wait.
yeah, it would probably be a pretty small, I don't know. I've never been at the bottom of a well. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm pretty grateful for that. I've never experienced that. I would like not to.
No one wants to be the Lindbergh baby.
I was thinking more like Timmy down the well, like a Lassie situation.
I immediately went true crime, but yeah.
Yes. So the guy who comes out of the well, we don't know his name. We just know he's dressed a little old-fashioned. And, you know, he cleaned up really nicely for someone who was in that well. Like, you'd think like, his hands were still a little dirty, but his clothing wasn't. Kind of impressed.
Maybe he had a couch down there, you know?
Maybe. Maybe he had a nice little, like, it wasn't just like a little cave system, but like maybe he just had a little, like, bachelor pad or something down there.
Yeah, I've probably had apartments in worse shape than those caves.
It'd be like Spike's crypt in Buffy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Kind of one of those situations. Sorry, we like to talk about Buffy on this podcast as well. Or really anything that comes to mind. Buffy, Xena, it's a free-for-all. So, spoilers for those. Sorry, guys.
Any and every opportunity.
But in all fairness, as far as those go, it has been about 20 years since both of those series aired. So, I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah. There is, like, one more thing that I want to get into just, like, before I totally forget about it. We talked a little bit about, like, you know, the episode and what it means, you know, like around homecomings or what it's like for, you know, people, you know, who have to, you know, go home and don't want to, you know, and like that, you know, sort of recurring theme throughout. There was also just so much about self-worth in this premiere. Like before things went, you know, completely south for Wynonna, she wasn't the heir. You know, everything was all about Willa. We get that from Wynonna. It's still about Willa in Wynonna's mind when this episode picks up. She says to Dolls, they took the good sister out into the hills and slaughtered her. In the very next scene, Nedley calls Wynonna the black sheep. It's just this, you know, Gus is not happy to see her. It's just, it comes from all sides, you know, and you really get a sense from Wynonna in this episode, from the looks on her face, more than what, you know, these characters are saying about her, that, you know, that she believes some of it. You know, that's something that we just like keep, you know, coming across. She says to that Wyatt Earp fanboy at the bar who crawled out of the well that crazy runs in the family, you know, and then we have Gus's line about you're off your meds and all that. So you wonder how many of the lies she's been told about herself are lies that she still believes. And near the end, when Dolls actually says, like, demon out loud, Wynonna flips. She can't believe someone else is acknowledging what she's always known and what she's probably often, at least on some level, like, doubted was real. And I really loved that. I really love that we're seeing her. You know, we're introduced to her. We know she's our heroine. You know that right away. So I like that we're seeing this journey. You know, that we're seeing this journey of her overcoming her past and her maybe mistakes or what have you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you nail on the head with all of that. Because you're right. It is. She has internalized so much of it, and it's like she's starting to doubt her own memories, her own, you know, because she tells, you know, it's like her comment to Waverly. The only thing that Skun killed was Daddy. Like,
right.
She goes from believing in this curse and the revenants and all this stuff to kind of internalizing what people have told her. You know, you're crazy. And it's still just so curious, just that age difference between Waverly and Wynonna, I think makes all the difference too, because Wynonna was this 12-year-old girl who witnessed something awful and who did something awful. And she knows about the Revenant. She knows these stories. And so she told people.
Yeah.
And, you know, Waverly, who was 6, could get away with, even if she did say something, or, you know, maybe Wynonna told her, don't talk about this.
Yeah.
Because she says something, she has a line in the episode, something like, you know, I don't talk about this.
Right.
You know, I don't get to, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it is such a, you know, I love how they contrast and everything, but you're right. It's such a good, it's such a good foundation. And you want to just reach in and hug Wynonna.
Yeah, you do.
Because it's just, she's just, it's hard. And I mean, she's getting into some trouble too. Because, when she goes into Shorty's and asks, I know when she first comes back into Shorty's and he asks her why she didn't leave her name when she called 911 about Kirsten, she's like, reads off her rap sheet and it's, 2 stints in juvie, a summer riding with the Banditos, wanted for question with the Bleecker case, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So look at that. And then Waverly, like, why such a different treatment? Why such a different, experience growing up? And it's just, there's a fun psychology to it.
And I think so much of it has to do with what you just touched on. And that's largely, I think, the age difference. Wynonna remembers all of it. She was 12. There are probably pieces that Waverly, a lot of her research is probably that she doesn't have anybody around to explain these fragments of history that she has in her mind. So she's delving, into this past, and she's trying to construct her narrative, right? She's trying to compile this history that she can't reach because Wynonna isn't there, and she's only got parts of it. And then likewise, along with what you just said with age, if a 6-year-old is running around talking about, monsters under the bed, right? Or monsters at the homestead, you can largely write that off as, oh, what a precocious, adorable little 6-year-old. If a 12-year-old is saying these demons grabbed my dad and killed my sister, that's a different thing entirely.
Especially because there is some truth to it. I mean, the homestead was, like, Willow was kidnapped.
Right.
And, Willow was taken. So, that's how a 6-year-old would cope with, those monsters. And think of how an adult would talk about this awful thing, those monsters that took that little girl.
Yeah.
So they're going to think, oh, she's just picking up that language or whatever. So, yeah, it's just, there's so much to really try to examine in it, and it's just the first episode, and this is all stuff you can glean from the first episode, and I think it comes back to just how strong of an episode it is.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That's what I was saying earlier. They do such an excellent job building a foundation in this episode. It's beautiful character work.
Yeah, I've said it before. I will continue to say it. Pilots can be really hit or miss, and this was a hit.
Absolutely.
It was the right pacing. It captures your attention, and it's just, on a rewatch, it's just that much better. Because I'm not like, okay, I gotta watch this to get to the next episode. I get to watch the pilot again.
Yeah.
Like, I have a reason to do this. Yeah. So, did you have any other, kind of minor comments or random comments that you just kind of had for the episode or anything?
I have some favorite quotes, but most of what I have left, I feel like we're going to have to put under the cut because it is kind of spoilery.
Okay. Oh, see, I always ask you that and then find something that I forgot to add. I forgot to mention this. I had a little section about the Revenants.
Right.
Just because as we get information about the named Revenants, I kind of want to just make sure we note it.
Yeah, good call.
Because we meet 3. Malcolm Ramekin, he calls himself an entrepreneur. He murdered his business partner and was sentenced to hang. And this is the one that Wynonna kills. The Revenant with the eye patch, and he's the one who kills Kirsten in the beginning.
Right.
And then we've got, Big John and then Stupid Carl. And Carl and the tongue thing that I had to bring up because it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, but I hate it so much. So, and did we mention that the Revenants can't leave Purgatory?
I don't know that. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that we called that out specifically though, but that would also be an important Revenant note and something that we learned in this.
Yes. Yeah, that was another. I have my. Sorry, guys. It's getting back into the swing of things. My notes are a little wonky, so I'm trying to run through them, and I'm like, wait a minute. I think So yeah, we learned that the Revenants can't leave Purgatory, which is pretty important. But yeah, I think anything else I might have might be under the cut.
Okay, yeah.
So What were some of your favorite quotes? You know me, I always have a big long list of them.
I love Worst Birthday Ever. That's just, I think it's,
Oh, yeah.
that quote, I think, is still a joke within the fandom. It's, and you know, it's that first glimpse of my love, Waverly Earp, you know, and Wynonna with her hands up. So I love that. And I really like the thanks, but I'm more of a make everything worse kind of girl. But like my favorite quote of the entire episode, and I nominate this as sickest burn of the episode, is wouldn't risk it. We both know you're one grope away from a heart attack. Best to stick to internet porn and the certainty of dying alone, don't you think? And that was Wynonna to Nedley. And it gives us our first epic middle finger. And it's a quote that truly stands the test of time. And I think it really shows you like how much they can get away with on this little series. You know, Sci-Fi does not care. It was beautiful.
It was a good moment. Yeah, I think that quote that bit might be a little underappreciated, but especially she's saying that to the town sheriff.
And she keeps going with, it's a long quote, you know, it's just like one continuous insult about his whole life.
Poor Ned. Wynonna doesn't give a flying. Not only are we spoiler free, we are trying not to curse, which is difficult when you're talking about a show like Wynonna Earp.
So much. It's a challenge.
Yeah, no kidding. So I kind of loved Shorty's first line. You know, either I'm sucking fumes out of the back of Willie Nelson's tour bus or Wynonna Earp just walked into my bar.
Yeah.
I appreciate that one because it's like, you know, it really establishes our bartender here. I like him. I love, you know, I know Purgatory's country and all, but is it legal to bury your husband in the garden?
Yes. Yeah.
And then, you know, only thing Curtis loved more than me was his tomatoes. Who am I to separate soulmates?
Yeah, that was a good guess line.
Waverly's first line, or one of Waverly's first lines, which is, why don't you slip into something more comfy, like a coma? I already mentioned that as a swift kick in the box. I like it when Wynonna's talking to, here, let me just, the whole episode, it's favorite quote. Now, I like it, that moment when she's talking to the truck. She's like, Waverly was right, we need that gun. And I'm talking to my truck.
I also really like the Wyatt Earp fanboy in Shorty's bar, and his line when he holds Peacemaker, he looks at the bottom of it and he says, engraved his own initials, seems rather gauche. I just thought that was, yeah.
Let's pin that for an after the cut thing too.
Yeah. Because
there's a few items for that one.
Oh, we also, one more quote, you forgot Scary Good in Bed.
Oh, yeah. And I also had, that one's good. Yeah, because she's like, talk to them locals, they know everything. And it's like, dolls like that you're mental, a bad seed. You forgot Scary Good in Bed.
Yeah.
But no, Waverly, when she asks, you know what I never found, a reason why I can't break the curse. And then Wynonna, okay, how about because your scrapbooking habit is taking a terrible turn. I love that line too. I always have so many written down because I love this show so much. And it's just like, it's so quotable. It's great.
Me too. Honestly, one of the hardest things about recapping this show is not transcribing the entire episode.
Yes, I can say that with certainty.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And I still end up writing a bunch of quotes down. Yeah, for those of you who may be unaware, I did do recaps for season 2. So yeah, I did go through, and it's very difficult not to just quote everything. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I'm once again doing another. Oh, I did want to say that poor cake that, you know, Gus had for Wynonna, that birthday cake. Rest in peace cake. That poor uneaten chocolate cake. Anyway, chocolate icing. I think it was actually yellow cake. But yeah, this is important stuff right now. Cake. Just be hungry. Who knows? All right, so I think that does it for the spoiler-free half of the podcast.
I think about it.
Alrighty, cool. We got that all wrapped up. All right, so if you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to share it. We're not on any of your traditional podcast sites. You can download it from our website at 4ye.co.uk, and that's the number 4. You can give us a follow at 4ye. It's Twitter. It's 4_y_e. Where everything that is and is not Wynonna Earp related that Lara and I write is up there. And then if you want to follow the Make Your Peace Twitter, give us a follow at 4YE_MYP podcast. So give us a follow and, help us, give us a retweet or anything if you like the podcast, because this goes up on YouTube too. So feel free to share it that way. And if you want to follow me personally on Twitter, you can find me at Meushaw, which is at CMEUSHAW. And Lara, where can they find you?
And you guys can follow me at RS Mayfair. That's at RSMAYFAIR.
Thank you so much for listening, y'all. And if you're not keen on the spoiler discussion, then hopefully we'll see you next week. And if you're going to stick with us for the spoilers, I will get into that in a minute. And I just realized that we should probably find a transition or something to transition into that. But I think for now, we're just going to be giving it a pause. So...
Could we maybe insert some smooth jazz or something?
We could just make up our own transition music.
I
don't know.
I don't know. And we're here at the spoiler section, the under the cut section.
All right. So for those of you who stuck around, thank you so much for sticking around and listening to us struggle through our first episode back. It's been a while since we podcasted.
Especially without spoilers.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk some spoilers. And I think the first thing we really need to get into is Doc Holliday.
Yes.
Doc Holliday.
Yes, Wyatt Earp fanboy at Shorty's, or Wyatt Earp fanboy from the well, as we referred to him in this podcast.
And, well, actually, he's Doc Holliday.
Ta-da!
So there's a couple of lines he has that kind of make it really fun. One of the first things he mentions when he and Wynonna are talking about Wyatt, he says, sounds like he was soft on Wyatt. So this is Doc Holliday talking about Doc Holliday.
True, yeah.
I will stand firm that there was something between them.
I ship it.
I do too. I mean, Wyatt seems like kind of a jackass, but damn it, I went the whole episode without slipping. I'm allowing it. That one gets through. But yeah, I mean, I find that line intriguing every time I watch the pilot. The sounds like he was soft on Wyatt line. Unless he was just looking for a reaction from Wynonna, but even so, it's still an interesting line.
And it does work that way. Also, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying it could work that way because that whole interaction between the two of them was very much him feeling her out and him trying to bait her. And trying to gauge where she was, what she understood, kind of what she knew of herself and her responsibilities.
Yeah.
And whether or not she recognized him. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And it's funny because you would think with all of her research, Waverly would have recognized him too, but it takes her a minute as we find out a little bit later. But yeah, no, I think you're right. And you get immediately that sexual tension between him and Wynonna.
Yeah, you do.
So yeah, let's get Doc out of the way, and we only have to call him the cowboy from the well for a little bit longer. I think they actually reveal to the audience in episode 2, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, somebody calls him Doc.
Yeah, it's pretty soon. And, it's one of those things, too, that, just, for everybody who's still listening, when Catherine and I started talking about this before we started recording, she was like, yeah, and we got to, make sure that we don't call him Doc. I was like, oh, God, because I totally just, for granted that there's Doc Holliday. And so I actually had to go through my document and delete where I had written his name.
It happened. Yeah. And it's wouldn't it be fun? Cause I don't think the Revenant at the end, Red, his name is Red, says his name at all.
I don't think so.
So if he does, then we just did that unnecessarily, then oops. One of the things though, and I meant to, well, this was okay after the cut. At that end sequence where the Revenant, where Red goes up to him, I don't think I've been quite 100% clear on this. Who shot Carl? Was it Dolls or was it Doc?
I don't know. That's a good point, though. And if anybody listening knows, please tweet it at us.
Yeah, because Wynonna thinks it's Dolls, and Dolls gets up there fairly quickly. But Dolls also kind of reacts in a way that you would think it wasn't him.
Right.
And then the Revenants just assume that it's Doc, but not enough to make him leave the trailer park.
Right.
And, it's Doc Holliday. He's the fastest draw in the West.
Yeah.
Yeah, And it would make more sense for Dolls to have been following them than Doc. Although, for your point about him feeling her out, maybe that was part of it, him kind of, seeing what she was made of. So, but I don't think we ever get that answer, that solid answer. I had that in my list as a question because it's like, I don't think we ever got that answer.
It could come up for sure later too, like in in next week's episode or something like that. Like, could be something that I feel like if Doc did, it's going to come up.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it because I don't even remember it mentioned. I mean, I've rewatched these a lot, and it's like I don't remember hearing him mention it in any way. So I don't know. And I know you had a pretty fun discussion just waiting. You've been waiting for the after the cut.
Yes.
So
I guess we'll talk about the first thing that I had is something that I talked to Catherine about like before we started recording. And this is another thing, guys, if I've missed something, like just, tweet at us and let us know, yeah, that's been addressed and you missed it. But I don't think that we get the first glimpse of Wynonna's Athena key necklace in this episode. She leaves it when Kirsten gets murdered and Dolls brings it back to her. But when Dolls finds it, Nedley is saying that nothing lives in purgatory but cattle and cowboys, and Dolls holds up Wynonna's necklace, and he says, and maybe the occasional Greek goddess. And the carving on the key is Athena in Greek, which makes sense. In the episode, Wynonna tells Gus that she was in Greece when she heard about Curtis's passing. So, maybe she got it from, somewhere in Greece, or maybe the necklace is why she was in Greece in the first place. But I also read a long time ago in an interview with Emily Andrus that the key is not random. So my kind of question around it is like, do we think this opens up a literal something like Purgatory's own Pandora's box? Or do we think it unlocks something inside of Wynonna? Because Athena is the Greek goddess of wisdom and war, and she's the patron goddess of heroic endeavor. So I guess my question is like, do we think it's an internal or an external thing? And do you think the gods will factor into this show? Because, Xena dealt with it heavily. Buffy went that route briefly with Glory, but she was an original creation. Lost Girl heavily featured the Greek gods in the last season, including gender-flipping Hera and Zeus in the final.
Yeah, and this was like Lara kind of gave me hints of this right before we started, and I got super excited. So, because it's like, I didn't even connect with the Greek goddess line, like how that was an extra layer of the Greek goddess line too, with knowing that the symbol on it is Athena.
Yeah. It's a telling choice of goddess too. Like, I mean, Wynonna doesn't strike me as a particularly religious person or anything like that, but it's funny that the symbol or the name that she wears is the, patron goddess of heroic endeavor. Like, that's really telling.
Especially, I mean, you look at the Greek gods, and you look at like the 12 major gods / there's 14 because two of them, a couple of them switch out as far as the 12 major, but there are two gods of like war and kind of stuff like that. Athena and Ares. And Athena is like wisdom and warfare and like strategy, whereas Ares is kind of all over the place. And you would think, if like, let's look at Gus again. Look at, she wouldn't ascribe Athena to Wynonna. If the choice was between two war gods, she'd pick Ares. And I think that's interesting too, with you bringing up, because you're right. It's an interesting choice of God. Mm-hmm. It really, I mean, why not Dionysus?
I like that actually, with how heavily she drinks. That's kind of perfect.
She loves a good time. Yep, so good time. Why not Dionysus? Why not Aphrodite?
Another thing, and you're gonna have to.
Oh my God! Why not Aphrodite? Why not Aphrodite? Because she uses that as her stripper name.
Oh Oh my God! I want to watch that episode again. I will.
You have time. You're done recording.
Yeah, good call. Jeez, that's really fun. The other thing I was going to say about the necklace, and I don't remember now what they're called, but I used to know. The necklace is like, it's got like 2 charms on it, and like the other charm are these little like eye-like beads. They're like blue, and I think they've got like a black like eye indentation or something like into them, or like a little like black like dip in the beads. And those are also Greek. And I don't remember what they're called now, but they are actually to ward off the evil eye. So they protect against curses. And I feel like a lot of this is about protection. And I think that's, pretty funny because especially when we see her, in the premiere, you get a sense that like this is something that she's actively trying to put behind her. She's trying to put the curse behind her. She's trying to live a different life. But even trying to do those things, she is literally like warding off curses and, like beseeching, this patron goddess like through her jewelry. So I think that's pretty neat.
Yes, it's so cool. Thank you so much. I am so glad that you went in and like pulled all this research and stuff like that, because I mean, it's such a it's an awesome perspective to put on it too. It gives a fun layer to Wynonna, and because you're right, like what was she doing?
Right,
you don't know. And I mean, it's so good because we never really learned what she was doing in Greece, and it feels like kind of a random place for her to run off to.
But maybe not. Maybe something led her there, or maybe she. I don't know. But I really do want answers around the necklace. It's something. It's sort of a minor character. It's sort of a minor plot device, I guess. Like, I think, like, we see her lose it several times, and people bring it back to her. Like, Dolls brings it back to her. She doesn't lose it just that once with Kirsten. We'll see that again. We'll see her misplacing it or it coming off of her somehow. So, I'm really curious. I don't know what it means, does it... My big thing now, and, feel free to, send us your theories, you guys, we love it, is do we think it's an internal or an external thing? Do we think it's a metaphorical key, or is it a literal key because it's shaped like a key? What do you think?
I go back and, I honestly, I go back and forth on it too, because like with all that you said, it could go either way. So yes, let us know your thoughts, our dear listeners, because we love to hear them. You've given a lot to think about too. I'm just very excited. Sorry. I get like, yay, Greek mythology. I love it. It's so much fun.
I had another question for you, and maybe, I don't know. I'm wondering like where you fall on this one. So the first Revenant that we see when she gets off the bus, what was that Revenant's name again?
Malcolm.
Thank you. So when we first see Malcolm, he's like telekinetic. And he's like throwing Wynonna around like a rag doll, like through the air. I don't know if, I guess he could be moving super fast and we can't see him, but it looks like she's literally flying through the air and like he's doing it. And I don't think that that's something that we've really seen much of, apart from like Bobo, but we now know that Bobo's thing is like fixated on metal, like he has, he can control metal and stuff like that. So is like, do you think that we can like chalk that whole thing up to like the Revenant was throwing her around right before her cell phone alarm goes off and reveals that it's her birthday and she's officially inherited the powers of the air? And so like maybe they no longer have that kind of power over Wynonna and they can't move her that way? Or do you think it's something that like, it was the pilot and they thought they were going to do that with the Revenants and then they didn't?
I don't know. I think it could be a lot of things because we do see Revenants move very quickly in the next episode. The third episode is the third episode, sorry. Like with the Hellhound kind of deal.
Right.
So we do see Revenant move very quickly. Well, it's also like, we see Wynonna move, do that crazy gravity-defying jump once. We don't see her move like that ever again.
Yeah, we don't really. We see it in the pilot and then we don't really see much of it.
Yeah. So it might be, that call to, the Revenants come back a little demon-y and maybe they come back with abilities or something like that. Or maybe he just moved really quickly and he was chucking her around, and some of the revenants can do that. So I think that one's hard because it's a hard gauge because, it could be chalked up, I think, to anything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's definitely a good question because I always end up for this, the weird stuff that we never see again. I always focus on Wynonna's, crazy jump. Like that's always my hone. And I'm like, why do we never see that again?
Yeah. And that is really, it's funny. I didn't focus on that part until you mentioned it. And now I'm like, yeah, man, we don't really see that anymore. So.
And that's why this is fun, because we catch different things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's weird. And there's a few things the pilot kind of sets the stage for and kind of leaves up in the air still. Like, I still want to know about the Blaker case. We haven't learned about that yet.
Yeah, me too.
It gets mentioned again, kind of in passing, not by name, but Lucado uses it against her as well.
Right.
Lucado. And then you mentioned Peacemaker while we were recording and how Peacemaker's kind of a melodramatic gun.
Right.
And the question, why doesn't Peacemaker work the second time with Carl?
Yeah.
And I think, we've learned that Peacemaker gets very choosy sometimes. Peacemaker chose to let Wynonna shoot Wyatt, and Peacemaker did not light up when that happened. And Peacemaker allowed Wynonna to rescue Waverly and kill Malcolm, but Peacemaker didn't let Wynonna kill Carl yet. So I think, and it's kind of curious, I mean, is it because of Willa? Is it because, we find out that Willa's still alive? So was there a moment where Peacemaker got confused? Or Peacemaker still feeling Wynonna out? Where she's like, all right, who is this heir? So I think it's Peacemaker's a fun guy.
I kind of think that Peacemaker has its own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like that. I think that's kind of how I took it. Like it wants things to play out. Sometimes it wants things to play out a certain way, or sometimes it has more insight maybe into like long term or, like end game than it can actually communicate with Wynonna in any way. And so it just does these little inexplicable things.
Maybe it wants to just teach a lesson.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah, I wanted to note that. And like I said, any excuse to talk about Peacemaker because it's a cool gun.
It's the best.
I do kind of, one of the other questions I had about this episode that isn't addressed is, what was Curtis doing at the homestead?
Yeah.
Did he know that Wynonna was turning 27 soon, so he wanted to check on the homestead or something? Like, because we get an idea that, maybe Curtis knew more about what was going on because he was Ford's deputy. But it's just like, why was Curtis at the homestead?
And, there's a note waiting in the house for her when she gets home that's like, welcome back, Wynonna.
Mm-hmm.
She finds it. So maybe it's something like, maybe they lured him there. Maybe they knew that to get her to come back home because she was about to be the heir. The Revenants probably didn't forget her birthday. So maybe it was all a part of a ploy to get her to come back. Maybe they knew they had to take someone from her to do that.
I mean, they tell her that they killed Curtis to get her back and stuff like that. I'm curious as to how they got Curtis there.
Yeah, I don't know what they would have done to get him to go there.
Unless they brought him there. They can go there freely. So maybe because he was there with Champ. I forgot about Champ.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't.
Yeah. See? It's so nice when I can just forget.
I feel like he was baited.
Yeah.
I don't have any proof of that. I just feel that way.
We're not sure how. So let's see. There was a couple other random things I wanted to mention that I knew were spoilery. I just have to find them. Oh, Nedley. So in this episode, we get kind of the impression that Nedley is maybe this bumbling sheriff who just is bad at his job.
Right.
But knowing what we know now, after watching 2 seasons, after watching all the way through to the end of season 2, him explaining away Kirsten by saying it's coyotes, is there more to that than just, I'm incompetent? Is it, it's very obviously like him trying to do what he's, the town knows there's something weird, just easiest explanation, we'll be, we'll run with it. We don't want to panic the town. We don't want to rock the boat, stuff like that. So, and, we know he knows what's going on. So it's kind of fun watching Nedley a little bit, knowing that, he knows more and that he's a good guy.
Yeah. And
knowing that you appreciate him a lot later.
and actually watching him like do the cleanup or the cover up in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the town line. Coyotes.
Yeah. Your attitude totally changes.
Yeah, it does.
On a rewatch. So good. Some of these are just like notes I forgot to delete, so bear with me. Yeah, and I know I made that comment about Gus. Because I like Gus so much better later on in the season, and I'm so sad we didn't get her in season 2.
I am too, and so I don't disagree with you or anything. Like, she had a rough introduction to the show, a very rough one. I really like the purpose that she served, and it's, I'm personally a fan of Gus, but
I am too.
You're right. Like, it's not, you don't start on the best foot with that character.
You get mad at her, especially on a rewatch. You get just angry. You're like, what the hell is your problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like even the next episode. She's really awesome. It's like, she's just way overprotective, and it's fine. It's her job. But yeah, it's just watching this first episode, I'm always like, So I had one more note that was spoilery, and it was limited dating option. Waverly makes a comment about limited dating options when Wynonna gives her a hard time about Chan. And I just put a note in. It's like, just you wait, Waverly Earp.
Oh, we're so close.
And I still hold that despite... I know. Next week. We get to talk about her next week.
Worst part of the rewatch is rewatching Champ. I also had one more note, and that was just, like, your opinion on this. I wonder if, like, I feel like I'm certain that it is, but one thing I noticed, like, rewatching this and everything, I was like, man, I really wonder if, like, Wynonna ran away from Purgatory, like, not necessarily because she couldn't handle it there, or, people were mean to her, or, like, even necessarily, like, her rebellious streak. Like, I think all of those things are factors, but I wonder if, like, the deciding thing was to keep the curse as far away from Waverly as possible, because she does have that moment in her room where she's like, you're supposed to be normal, you're supposed to be safe.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel like, if you wanted to keep her safe, right? Like, one of the biggest things you could do is just stay alive. And it's very hard for revenants to kill you when they're trapped in Purgatory if you are in Greece.
Unfortunately, with the flip side of that, it's not if she turns 27 and she's home in Purgatory, it's when she turns 27, period.
Oh, for real?
I believe so. I think.
Oh, I thought.
No. I mean, for Wynonna, I think, so it's like, but so you still, her 27th birthday, regardless of where she's at, would still bring the Revenants back, so Waverly would still be in danger. That's where I was going with that.
Also, Willa is still alive. I didn't think about that. Willa's still alive, and Wynonna still becomes the heir.
Yeah, I'm curious about the mechanics of the curse, too, in that regard, because in theory, the Revenants would have come back the year prior, because Willa's a year older than Wynonna.
Right.
So they would have come back a year prior, and we just get an indication that, like, Big John and Carl just came back because of how Malcolm, like, Wynonna looks at him and is like, you're locals, or something like that. So you get the impression that maybe they just got back, especially with how, like, crappy Carl is with, talking about hell and Wyatt and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's the impression that you originally get is that these Revenants have been in hell for 15 years waiting for Wynonna to turn 27, but you do have that weird question about where does that leave Willa?
Right.
Because she's 28 right now, but she also doesn't know who she is.
Yeah. And
so that might be part of it.
And, like, what is, we were just talking about Peacemaker, and I feel so maybe there are answers around Peacemaker and Peacemaker's role in the curse that we don't fully understand. Maybe Peacemaker has some role in this resurrection even. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, I do not know. Maybe because it wasn't in anybody's hand, something, it's a hole for me. I'm going to be honest. It's a hole that
it is.
I can't solve for myself. So.
I see where you're going with like, oh, maybe once Wynonna got Peacemaker, but the Revenants came back the minute Wynonna turned 27.
Right.
They didn't wait until Peacemaker because we are given a lot of cues to indicate that something happened the second midnight hit.
Yeah.
And she turned 27. So I see where you're going. And, you go there for a brief second, but then you're like, no, wait a minute. You got to think about the time, like how this thing went down. It's a complicated thing because we know Peacemaker plays a role in some of it. We know Peacemaker plays a role in the Boundary. And, we know Peacemaker is made of Ammonite.
Yeah.
Or, has elements of Ammonite, which is what is used to keep Revenants off of the homestead. So there's a lot there. And I know, like, that was all that was on my list. Was there anything else on yours?
No, we covered all of mine.
Excellent. So I don't think we need to give our where to find us again.
They get it.
Yeah. Thank you again for listening. Really hope you enjoyed both the spoiler-free and the spoiler-filled parts of the podcast. Please let us know. This is definitely a little bit something different for us, but be gentle because, as we mentioned, we're just getting back in the swing of things.
Truth.
So please give us feedback. We love it. We love talking to you guys. We've missed doing this so much. I know it's I know I speak for Lara. We've been talking about this. Like, I know I speak for the both of us because Lara and I have been talking about this for months to coming back to our Podler.
That's right. She can speak for me.
Excellent. See, I have a permission. Thank you so much for listening, you guys, and we'll see you next week for episode 2.
Thanks, guys.